Good morning, everybody. Rajni from Sashakt Empowering Lives. Long time and very sorry for the delay that happened on the premium channel. It was not intended, but there was some technical glitch at Google's end, and because of which there was a delay. So anyhow, to make up for the loss of all the premium members, we are going to be uploading 2 more videos, not at a gap of 1 week, but instantly, so that parents get that coverage and they can make up for their lost time. Of course, following through the videos and learning from that is something that is definitely going to take time, and implementing it, but from our side we want to make up for the loss, and so we'll be putting up 2 balanced videos of the language module. So let's start with the first video on behavior correction. So just like in the introduction, I have said that we have behaviors followed by language, followed by social skills, followed by self-help skills, and finally the academic skills. But we started with language because there was a pressing need for, and I was getting a lot of videos on language, so we started with the second one. So now going to the first one, behaviors. So today in this introductory video, I am going to share the reasons why behaviors happen. 90% plus times, we attribute a behavior to sensory overload. Sensory overload is a very overrated statement. I know it's a Pandora's box, and I'm opening myself to a lot of huge criticism when I'm saying this, because people will say, what are you talking? And everything about it. But 15 years of my working in this field, and I have figured out that 9 things out of 10 which I assumed and I thought were sensory, but when I put the effective behavior correction, those things faded out. So if they were genuinely sensory, they wouldn't have faded out. Of course, there have been instances where behavior correction has not worked and those things were actually sensory in nature, but those things are very rare. In more cases than what we can imagine, children were giving behaviors which were not sensory in origin, which were more to do with the fact that the kid understood that they got a lot of power and they could do what they wanted to do by exhibiting that behavior. Because parent thought, oh my God, that is sensory, don't tell, don't put behavior correction in place. So at times we have even, for my international students, some of my students, not some, actually 8 students up until now have reported with very young kids from England, Australia and US. 8, I'm saying, out of a lot of the total of 12 students in this present batch, I'm saying. Before, I don't remember, but the parent empowerment students, 8 students out of 12, okay, so that's a big number, have reported this, that the minute my kid will lie down on the floor, the teacher will say, okay, the sensory room. Now imagine, teacher is assuming that this is sensory overload, and so the class is going for a music session, and this kid is not liking the music session, or this kid or computers, and the kid is not interested, or maybe something which is least desired, and the sensory room is of great value and attraction because there's so much of stuff. So what has the kid learned? Lie down and go to the sensory room. So in effect, what we did, we powered the behavior, we powered the thought of the kid that anytime you want something, what you need to do? You lie down. And we say, oh, that's sensory. He needs a sensory input. So you're rewarding a behavior. So going back to this, that what is the origin? So before you actually give in to the temptation of calling anything sensory and just ruling it out, please see to it that you have done a ABC analysis. What is an ABC analysis? Antecedent, behavior, and the consequence. So antecedent means what was it that triggered it? Now, in this specific example, which is from one of my students in the US, the antecedent is the child not liking to go for the computer class because he is not interested. Lots of children with autism are really interested in computers, but this specific particular child is not interested. So not interested. So antecedent is he again gets to know, oh, same class. Okay. The behavior is lying down, and the consequences, he gets what he wanted, the sensory room. But in the whole process, he was deprived of the learning which he would have gotten in the computer room, number one. Number two, he's learned a very wrong thing, that for anything that you want to avoid, you just lie down. Yeah. And number three, he is moving away from instructional control. How do you land up teaching a kid who says no to you? So if a kid is not interested in following you, you can't teach. Yeah. So going back to this, that first do a ABC analysis. Is it really that he needs pressure that he's lying down? If he needs pressure and he's lying down, and if we take him to the sensory room and give him the pressure, can we return from there in 5 minutes flat and say, oh yes, now we're done, let us go to the computer room? Yeah. Are we willing to give a physical prompt? Now, like, it's rather unfortunate that in US, teachers have a very clear federal law that you cannot be touching the kid. By touching, I don't mean physical abuse or beating up the kid, but like in Indian schools, we will, put our hands from underneath the armpits and lift the kid. Yeah. We've been taught that technique, that okay, fine, up. And the kid knows I can't get away by lying down on the floor. There are times when the kid is just, he's dragging himself on the floor. But we will go back behind the kid and put our hands there and lift him gently without hurting him and say, let's go, dude, let's go. Yeah. And lovingly put the hand on the shoulder. But unfortunately, Americans and Europeans and Australians can't do that because those are the laws there. So anyway, the teacher can talk about it and say, first computers and then the sensory room. Or okay, let's go to the sensory room. You hear the alarm. Alarm goes, sensory room time over, go back to computers. So spend 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 5 minutes and get the kid back. So the first thing in this introductory video is basically, what do you do when you get a behavior? First is you identify whether it is really sensory. If it is sensory, senses will not overfunction or underfunction only on a particular stimulus. Okay. Oh, I get a sensory overload when I think I have to go to computers. What kind of logic is that? Yeah. Okay. The logic is it's visual stimulation to the eyes and my kid cannot tolerate. Okay. Accepted. So my kid knows his eyes will hurt if he goes to computers. So next time when he's playing a computer game, are his eyes hurting? You need to check a lot of things. Yeah. Oh, my kid has a problem with fingers, with grip. Okay. If he holds a pencil, he will hurt. Yeah. So if he holds a pencil and he will hurt, will he also hurt if you take ice cream and you take a long stick and you say, poke it in this, a clean stick, of course. Poke it in, put it in your mouth. It's nice. So if he can hold it nicely and he can do it, is he really hurting? Yeah. They are using it as an excuse because they know they can get away with it. So the first thing to do is to identify if your kid's problem is actually sensory. How to identify that? You see that on a similar note with something which is desirable, is the kid hurting in the body? Is the kid still making? Now I had twins, my students. That was one case that was 100% sensory. No matter what reinforcer I gave, when they were in a particular situation and the stimulus was there, they were hurting and they were doing everything under the sun that they shouldn't have done. Yeah, they smashed the laptop. It was very hurtful because the sound was very hurtful. So even that ice cream would not satisfy them, which they loved it, but because that sound. So that is sensory. So you need to figure out what happens is, friends, that it's very easy for me to not take the road less traveled. Because when I tell my kid, oh no, no such luck, you stand up, you come with me, you go to that room, yeah, then the kid begins to give rebellion. Wah, wah, wah. So my ears hurt. Oh my God, my peace of mind goes. I'm like, oh my God, oh my God. It's much better and much easier for me to accept that, oh, okay, this is sensory. That's why he's doing it, okay? That's the reason why he's doing it. It's sensory. So when I accept it in my own being, I don't, deal with it. So it is very important to know what is sensory and what is not. So just like I said, that if you are convinced in your heart everything is sensory, this is sensory, then the chances that you will mess with it are less. But if you know out of your antecedent behavior analysis, antecedent behavior consequence analysis, ABC analysis, what is the situation, what behavior did he give, and what did he get in return? Yeah, whatever happened, he shouted, I gave him 2 whacks, and eventually whatever he wanted or she wanted, I gave the kid whatever they wanted. That means the kid got success with throwing that fit at that moment. Yeah, so more than sensory, it was his way of communicating and saying, I want this and I will get it by my ways. So once you have a clear antecedent behavior consequence analysis, and you know that God, I am being taken for a ride, is when you put your foot down. You say, no such luck, sweetie. So the kid can shout to the moon and back. You will have your face absolutely plain and simple and calm. Deep inside you might be crying that I don't want to go through this, God please help. But you will keep it very simple, very, very simple. Yeah, and you say no. And you sit there, ignore. I say no, I will not give in to this. You can walk away from there. The kid will come behind you crying and showing, because the kid wants what he or she wants. At that moment, you will continue to do your thing and just put your condition forward. First this, then this. Whatever it is that you want him to do. First this, then this. Kid will cry for 30 minutes, 40 minutes, 50 minutes. This is where we fail mostly. Because family members say, why don't you just give him what he wants? Quieten him down. In our society, especially Indian families, I don't know abroad, like I've dealt with Indians staying abroad, but I don't know about the white people or the black people or the Indonesians and the native people from other countries. If it's the same way there, I cannot comment. But knowing the Indian society, whether it is North India, South India, anywhere, Bihar or anywhere else, knowing what happens is that the structure of the family is such that the mother is held responsible for anything. So the in-laws are old, yeah, and they want peace. They are in their retired life. When the kid shoots up, everybody looks at the mother expectantly, like as if she came with a PhD in handling a child with autism. And they look at her with, very, what? Why can't you handle? Even for people who are in America, Indians, same thing. Father thinks, I have come from a hard day of work. I don't want so much noise. Just give him what he wants, shut him down. I need peace. He's struggling with his own stress of his work and this and that and something that happened in the office. In-laws want their peace. We have had a difficult life. Now we want to rest and relax. So we don't want so much noise. And everyone looks at the mother. That do whatever, just quieten him down. The poor thing, what she will do? She gives in to his desire. And that's the beginning of demolishing a kid and his future in as many words. So if you want the kid to be made instead of demolished, Stop not supporting your family member. And people, if this is a lady who's listening to this message and would really want support, make your people listen to it. Because I too am a sister, as I'm a mother, a daughter-in-law, and I know the kind of pressures that can come up. Again, I have nothing against the old people. They're very loving. But the fact is that if you don't support your daughter-in-law who's working hard onto something which is very hard for her also, and it's a first time for her and she doesn't know how to deal with it, she's just trying to deal with it, and you not support her by saying give what is to be given to the kid and shut the kid down, then you are calling for trouble. Then before you even start the process of training the kid, of having an independent adult, over the years, you have shut the doors to it, because that independence would have been developed if the kid was ready to learn. The kid would be ready to learn if the kid knows there is no other way. I got to listen. And that doesn't happen by whacking the kid and then feeling guilty and giving in to his demands. Then what happens is kid calculates. I make a lot of noise. I have to go through a little bit pain. Okay, I have to go through a little bit of yelling and then I get what I wanted. Do you think the kid will ever stop? And to grow over it, the parent keeps on saying, oh my God, he has such a sensory overload. Wherever he goes. And I have been doing OT for past 5 years. Still the sensory overload. Because you are trying to cure a loose motion using a Disprin. It doesn't work. What is the autist going to do? What is the OT for 5 years going to do? Kid is manipulating you in as many words. So the first thing here, the first chapter here today is understand the origin of the behavior. Do the antecedent behavior and consequence analysis. Do not get fooled by the tantrum of the kid that this is something sensory. First, investigate if it is genuinely sensory. Then give a proper sensory diet. Meet a SI specialist, sensory integration specialist. Know which activities, which exercise. Ask for a result, that in how much time my kid will show a result. Because anything that doesn't give result is no good. Yeah? Okay. For all other things, do ABC, antecedent behavior consequence. 9 things out of 10 you will figure out are not sensory. They required stringent behavior correction. So in our second video, I am now going to talk about what do you do once you're very sure a behavior is not sensory in origin. How do you deal with it? How do you get the kid to be compliant and in instructional control? Until then, keep working with your kid, keep having faith, happy parenting, enjoy parenting your kid, irrespective of the neural status. Yeah? May each kid win and may each parent win. Bye-bye.